Spoilerin time, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Tom Merritt, Brian Brushwood with me, and Lamarr Wilson, our guest for the week, along for the ride, and we are going to spoil the crap out of you.
Yeah. Well, actually, we're not as well equipped to spoil you as usual.
Well, we're going to spoil the crap because that's all we have to spoil.
we showed up to a Spoilerin fight without any weapons because
we've got a weapon, Brian. We've got a weapon. I have done my book club duty, and I watched the season finale of season 1 of The Shield. So we are not bereft. We are not bankrupt, thank goodness.
We're morally bankrupt. All right, so what did you think? Speaking of morally bankrupt, what did you think of, first of all, Lamarr, have you seen The Shield? Did you watch it back in the day?
No.
Okay, that's fine. We're about to ruin a bunch of characters you don't care about.
No, I don't mind you all spoiling it either because I might not watch it.
Okay,
so
go ahead, Tom.
All right, episode's called Circles, and this is the one where everything falls apart, right? We do see Assistant Chief Gilroy taken into custody, which I thought was going to happen last episode. So that was satisfying to see those tables finally turn around. But Vic Mackey's life falls apart. His wife leaves him. And that I'm just going to focus right on the very end of this episode. And I apologize, Lamarr, but that scene where he just is like, I quit, basically. You can see that, and he's crying. You see like him finally snap, and he throws down the badge, then goes back and puts on the gun and heads out the door. It just makes you die to see season 2.
So at this point, the questions that you have that are unanswered are what? Now, first of all, obviously, it's a very humanizing element to an evil husk of a person. But then you see that, and like at this point, do you empathize with him? Do you find him to be an anti-hero, or he's a sympathetic bad guy? Where's your head at?
No, what they've done over season 1, as far as for me, what they've done in season 1 is turn Vic Mackey into a much more complex character than he looked like in the first couple episodes. Right? He definitely looked like the bad guy, and then he looked like an anti-hero, and then he became a father, and then he became a guy who maybe was really actually in his own way trying to do the right thing, and a hero who's just kind of maybe taking some shortcuts, and maybe he's redeemable, and then he's actually irredeemable in the one way that you thought he was redeemable with his family, who abandoned him. And then you wonder, well, why did the family abandon him? And it becomes so complex. You're like, now that is a real character right there. Vic Mackey has become the one thing on the Shield, and I've heard this from other people.
What was
I feel it true now, that embodies the complexity of the story they're trying to tell.
Now, it's been a while since I've seen it. What was the specific issue that he was quitting over? What was his stand that he was making where he's like, screw you, I'm out?
Well, the fact that he lost his family over the fact that, his entire world had been torn apart. And I remember they went and they ransacked his house trying to find the hidden gun that wasn't actually hidden there. That's why when his wife came back and saw that the house had been ransacked, she just left. She's like, I can't take this anymore. Yeah. And she came back against his orders. He had put her in a safe house.
So where's your enthusiasm on moving forward? Is it still homework for you? I mean, I know you keep saying it's never homework and that you're into it.
It hasn't been homework for. Yeah. No, it's moving right along, man. This is now flowing. And I was telling Jeff Kanata this yesterday when I was talking to him. Like, episode 7 is where it started to be something that I couldn't wait to see the next episode. This season finale just jacks it up into, like, this is a river raft, and I'm just being pulled along with it.
Good. Well, let's do this. So, likewise, we're checking in kind of on where we've gotten so far. Let's check it with Lamarr, who finally joined us on watching Cosmos. We don't have a new Cosmos episode, but you finally jumped in. How many episodes have you watched, Lamarr?
2, and I didn't watch them on Fox. I watched them randomly on National Geographic channel. I was up middle of the night last night and saw that it was coming on. I was like, "Oh, I've never watched this." It's the same episodes. I guess maybe after a couple of weeks they go to National Geographic.
Yeah. They show them, if I understand correctly, it's like they show them live and they premiere Sunday nights, and then usually Mondays they do the previous episode on there. So, but if they showed 2, it might have been 2 random ones. What were the conceits of the 2 that you watched?
Yeah, so the first one I watched was about it was talking about how trees back millions of years ago didn't rot. You know, they stayed in the ground, and the layers that came over them, and the consequences of that, of the gas that came up and put too much oxygen in the air. And he was going on about mainly talking about the layers, and it was kind of fascinating to me because he gave the kind of the rundown of how the earth got its layers, talked about the ocean and how we came out of all of this mess. But the one that really got me was the people who many years ago mapped the earth based on I forgot the lady's name. She mapped the floor of the ocean using sonar. And I thought that was fascinating. They even had the technology to do that back then, and was able to see that, hey, there was a rift between the continents. The continents did fit together, because there was speculation long ago that they did. The guy who said that was called crazy and thrown out of the scientific community, and then this lady figured it out years later, and they wouldn't give her credit initially. And then finally she got credit for that.
One of the things that we've talked about on the show, and that is polarizing about Cosmos, is the difference from the old episodes to the new episodes are the fact that they tell bits of the historical story with animated segments. Did that bother you, or did you like that?
No, I like that a lot. I mean, just being a former teacher and just storyteller, I like seeing things happen. And even when he did the green screen parts, I didn't mind that at all. I thought it was done very cleverly.
What did you used to teach, Lamarr?
Elementary school, K-8, all subjects.
Oh, okay, so all subjects. So how much of Cosmos was familiar territory to you? Because obviously a lot of these are some of the classic stories of science and astronomy. I'm sure many of them you've already heard before. Which ones really popped for as being new to you, and which ones were old hat?
I think the second episode talking about if that was the second episode talking about the sonar and the ocean floor and the continent drift. I've heard it, and I know the continents all fit together at one point, but the way it was explained was so clear and so concise that it was pretty much irrefutable the way it was explained. So I enjoyed that one the most. Yeah. I felt that was the most accurate. I could not have explained that to my kids back in 2001 when I had my first class. So
do you wish you had the show to show in the classroom back then?
No question. I mean, back then we used a service. Man, I forgot the name of it. It was this kind of ahead of its time. It was this TV service on demand. It was made by Discovery. It was this on demand service that you can get clips from Discovery and play them in the classroom if you had computers or if you had a projector. But it wasn't of this quality. It may had a nature shot, and then you talked about it with some worksheets and a lesson plan. But this show I could just put on and sit back at my desk and do nothing. That'd be great.
Well, you got Neil deGrasse Tyson teaching your class for you.
Yeah,
how cool
exactly,
is that?
Man. It felt like he felt like my teacher. And I learned so much just in those last 2 hours I was watching.
It's funny because, like, on the one hand, I could see being an old school duffer and be like, why do you need all this computer-generated science porn, these over-the-top, outrageous visuals with everything? Why does everything have to be a cartoon or whatever? But at some point, there's a sliding scale. We know that you learn better when you watch something in color versus black and white. We know that you learn better when there's more interesting visuals that pop and that it sits in your brain a lot better. Is Cosmos, I guess would the question be, just the logical conclusion of following down that rabbit hole?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Cosmos sets the standard of where teaching should be going forward. It's too many schools are taking too long to adopt stuff that's been around for years. I mean, I was pushing technology in my school because I had a supportive principal who was young like me at the time, but we had to fight with the other teachers. It was a mess to try to do it. Now there's no excuse. There's just no excuse with the technology out there and with a great series and teacher like Tyson is to not have this in the classroom. I know there's debate on the religious issues regarding it, but I mean, I had a religious upbringing. I didn't feel like he was offending me in any way. He was giving science based on what science sees, from the different layers. It was no offense. It's like, okay, this is a very good point of view. I didn't see any reason to be offended or hurt by it.
I'll tell you, it's an amazing time that we live in where not only is science education so popular, I mean, literally popular, it's appointment viewing on Sunday nights on one of the most popular networks out there, but also that there are no kid gloves that, and certainly Cosmos, started this tradition back in the day, but that it's popular for hard science to be something that everyone processes. For example, my daughter's been watching Cosmos, and as I mentioned over the weekend, she did this sleepover at NASA, and it's so inspiring to see my 10-year-old kid so pumped about this stuff that I actually last night, and some of you guys at home will cringe, I felt like Prometheus because she was so clearly enchanted by the experience of watching the way NASA ran things and being there and seeing parts of history or whatever, that I was like, hey, Penny, you know what the F word is, right? She's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, there's a book that I'm going to give you, and you're going to hear the F word a lot, but you'll like the story a lot. All you have to do is just don't prove me wrong. Don't say it. I'm going to let you hear it, though. And so I gave her The Martian because I'm so very into that story right now. And it's how amazing that my 10-year-old is going to be able to enjoy an unrelenting, pro-science-based, highly realistic portrayal of what being abandoned on Mars would be like.
Interesting. There's a I think one of the, you talk about, there's this thing that people on primetime are into science now. I think a lot of this, and I can't confirm it, of course, but I think a lot of this has come recently from the YouTube culture, because there's quite a few YouTubers who push education on science.
Oh, sure. And hard stuff too, like Vsauce and Vi Hart. Vi's amazing, and all of Khan Academy out there.
Yeah, Khan Academy. You got the number file guy. So there's this return to education through YouTube that's happening. I think Vsauce is one of the best that does this. So I think that translates into a need for more facts. People do like to learn. They just don't want to be taught at. They don't want to feel like, oh my God, is this boring teacher.
Do you know what it is? Is that YouTube has encouraged, and this is the weirdest thing. Like if you asked me 10 years ago, it would seem 10 years ago. And I don't know that they were out 10 years ago. But YouTube and Twitter could be two of the things that the old generation would love to take a dump on the younger generation about, like, oh, they're always on the YouTubes, on the Twitter. But meanwhile, both YouTube and Twitter have functionally forced an appreciation for brevity, for saying more with fewer words, to getting straight to the point, to being precise. Because the videos that do well on YouTube, they get right to the point. They make their statement effectively. They don't waste your time. That's the way Twitter is. I feel like we're actually creating a whole generation of better writers, because they'll write something and they'll run out of words. They're like, well, I need to express this thought in a more direct way, and they go back and write and rewrite. And in that regard, I think that there's a lot of benefits of this. This is a bit off the topic from where we are, but I don't know. I'm highly optimistic on that stuff.
Yeah, I was so excited about the Cosmos. I immediately went into Hulu and ordered the season, or subscribed to it. So I'm gonna be able to catch up this week on that.
Yeah, and I do like that feature. It's real simple. Every time I just go to Hulu, like for example, this morning I was like, well, maybe there was a Cosmos last night, and I was able to just load up Hulu, and it's immediately like no new episodes.
No, I actually went to Fox.com and did the same thing. I just looked like, what's the latest episode? Oh, nope. That's the one I already saw. Cool. Done.
So what about you, Lamarr? Have you seen anything that you want to talk about at all?
No, but I mean, Continuum is a weird show. It's like if you didn't watch it from the first episode, it's like it's kind of no point.
But they do have season 1 on Netflix, so it's easy to catch up.
Yeah, it's easy to catch up. It's a great sci-fi show. I've been trying to look for quality sci-fi shows, and I like time travel. This one doesn't get too heavy in time travel, but I'm not really comfortable with going to the details of spoiling it at this time, since I didn't prep for it.
The one thing I could say about Continuum that I love is that it is shot in Vancouver, and it is in Vancouver. So they don't have to dance around pretending they're somewhere else while you're like, dude, that's totally Vancouver. It looks just like Battlestar Galactica and Caprica and every other show that's shot there.
That's true.
Because they actually set it there.
That's hilarious.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Right on. Well, I guess we'll just have a shorter episode of Spoilerin time. Last week we did a double-sized episode. We talked for like 40 minutes just about Godzilla before we got to the other stuff. So I feel like we'll just owe you a double-sized one next week to make up for it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if people have a problem with it, I mean, I don't think we have ever set a particular amount of spoiler in time. So
I know, but
we just talk about what we've been watching, and it sets its own limit, right, man?
Yeah, but I know that also it's a benefit to the patrons that they get it early.
Would they prefer us to fake it and make up stuff? I don't think so.
You know what? Let's make up shows that don't exist. And
actually, that might
them.
be fun. Not even.
We, with a straight face, we're like, oh, Banana Face the Third was great this week.
You know, I was enjoying the first episode of Evolution's Little Helper on the National Science Channel this week. It's about a protein channel that eased a fish's transition from rivers to caves and their adventures. It's really good.
All right, I pulled the plug on this. Thank you so much, Lamar Wilson. Thank you for joining us. It's great to see you as always.
Good to be here, man. Thank you.
Bye, buddy.